it. I'm wondering how, the theme and the media you choose to use, and the interaction with the theme that or themes. Can you say something about that? Do you have, would you say you have
Sure.
particular themes and a particular kind of media that you like to work in, or how has that
Absolutely.
come about?
Most of my work deals with issues about, well, a lot of my work, all of it deals with ideas about how painting, which is um, a very traditional craft, if you will, kind of is adapting itself in the digital age. So all of my work is kind of this interaction between technology and kind of the traditional techniques of painting. When I got out of art school, I needed a job, and I ended up going to work in the computer business. And I spent a good number of years doing that before I left the software business to focus on my painting full time. And what I realized is that doing such brought to the work an imperative that whatever I did in my work, in my art, had to somehow tie in with technology. And so a lot of what my work has to do with is taking this traditional craft and adapting it for kind of the digital age. And that reflects also in the subject matter in terms of how we see things. A lot of the viewpoints and the points of view, if you will, that I use in creating my work are technology enabled. They're dealing with issues that they're giving us ways of seeing today that we did not have 20 years ago. Aerial photography, long distance photography, remote sensing, surveillance, issues of privacy. All of these are things that I work with in my work, and they're topics that I think are very salient today, but they're also things that really come out of these great tectonic shifts in technology that we're experiencing as a culture.
Yeah. So that's, yeah. So I guess when I've looked at your website, and so all I know of your work is the few things that I was able to find there, and there's undoubtedly a lot more and a greater, wider scope, that you've actually dealt with. But I'm wondering, some of it, talking about how, we put marks on canvas, and that conveys a message of some sort, just as any other activity in the world that we look at conveys messages to our brains. And it seemed to me like, if I think of Seurat, the pointillism of the
Mm-hmm.
of the what was it, 1900s,
Yes.
where he just put little dots and made of color. So that was the first impression I got looking at your stuff. It's like how kind of minimizing the actual scene, if you like, and trying to pull
Right.
out of it the essence of color and line and and space and all the rest of it that you can use to convey a solid impression, a shocking impression, even a kind of a startling impression.
Right.
I don't know if you would agree with what I'm saying there, but it seems like that's what it does with me. It really gets into my head. I'm mesmerized. I'm staring at it, and trying to figure out what it's doing to my brain.
Well, it's mark making and the mark making of painting is a fascinating concept, and whether a lot of the way that I make my paintings is very different from
Yeah.
the way most people make their paintings. I make my paintings using CNC technology. I develop these processes that utilize kind of core technologies, CNC technology being one of them.
What is
And then
CNC technology?
computer numerically controlled. So
I see.
these are machines. Yeah. So these are machines, large machines that are used in industrial processes. They're basically industrial robots.
Yep.
And so, to me, it's a way of having extraordinary accuracy in terms of where you do things within the picture plane. And so these things can be very tightly programmed. And what I've done is program them using software that is proprietary to the process to go to a specific location and actually apply a drop of paint in that specific location.
I get it. Wow.
So I can do this. I can do this very accurately, and I can also do it remotely because my actually right now, as I'm sitting here, I'm sitting in Miami, and my studio is actually in Houston. And as we speak, I'm working on paintings, and I'm not there. But what I do is I work on the images that I want to make, and then I send those machine files to my assistant in Houston, who is operating the machine. I send her a recipe for the color that I want, and we both have matching scales, and we add paint to the scale in weight increments measured down to the 100th of a gram, and so we get very precise color matchings.
That's amazing. You make me think of these.
We take those recipes, and then she takes the machine files. I make you think of what? I'm sorry?
It makes me think of surgeons these days. You know, the surgeons who are using computer-controlled robots to make microscopically fine, do microscopically fine work on their patients. You know, and watching everything on a big screen while they're doing it, and this kind of stuff. It's just really expanding your capacity as a human being to make marks on canvas, to produce something that people would hang on their wall and get something out of.
It is, and it gives us. To me, it's a way of addressing the idea of painting. I think a lot of technology today, it's got several characteristics. One of the characteristics is it allows you to do things that heretofore we could not do.
Yes.
Another thing it does, though, is it distances us from kind of certain aspects of humanity. Today people don't really sit down and have conversations anymore. They text, or they email, or they Skype. So, the nature of things has changed dramatically. And, so the immediacy and the intimacy of what is traditionally painting has changed as well. And for me, it's just another aspect. Having this remote dynamic to my work is kind of indicative of the times we're in and reflective of that. And some people may find it crass or whatnot, but I think we have to do things in the way of the times we live in.
For sure, you use the technology that's available.
Everybody's got their different belief structures, and for me, it's not. I'm not interested in using medieval techniques to make paintings because I don't live in medieval times.
Yes.
If I did, I would probably. So it's just a different way of dealing with things.
I'm wondering, do you have paintings on your wall? Your own paintings at home, on your wall?
I do. I have several.
Yeah. When you look at these, like what kind of a sense do you have of old versus new, all that kind of the ones you did a while ago versus the ones you're now doing? Like, what does it do to you as a viewer to look at your own stuff?
It's funny because I've always believed that as an artist you have to live with your work. I collect art, and I enjoy that, but I also live mostly with my own work, and so I look at paintings over time, and some paintings, when you first finish them, there's that immediate kind of gratification, and then over time, that gratification goes away, and you have to be it becomes a little more naked to you in terms of, you're not as attached to the work anymore. And so you can be a little more critical. And I find that if a painting holds up over time, if I can look at it for a year, 2 years, and not get tired of it, I feel confident that it's pretty.
It's good. Yeah.
Good.
That's right.
Also helps to inform new work because it inspires you in ways, and from a technique standpoint, it inspires you from a subject matter standpoint. That in ways that you can't, you're not, they're not conscientious necessarily. They're not conscious. It's not informing it consciously, but just being around it obviously has an impact.
Wow. Yeah.